While reading the most recent Baki series, I got a newfound appreciation for other Japanese combat sports, namely sumo. As Japan's national sport, it has always been popular amongst the Japanese audience, even the youth, and has sometimes popped up in other manga, one of which including Jujutsu Kaisen. Don't ask me how this all fits in the story, okay? I have no idea what's been happening for like the past 2 arcs. Especially in recent years where it's expanded into the Western sphere, with more internet personalities interacting with a very traditionally Japanese sport, and broadcasting it to a Western audience. So, when I found out Netflix Japan just released a show about sumo, I felt obliged to spend a couple of hours to check it out. Here's a little synopsis about the show. It's about a troubled guy whose life is shit. That's relatable. Although he had a happy childhood, his parents eventually ran into major money problems, and because of that, his family fell apart. Now as a young adult with nowhere to go, he gets into sumo and becomes a rikishi, a sumo wrestler, to earn enough money to try to buy back the life he once knew. Pretty standard stuff. But our main man, Kiyoshi, he's a hot-tempered guy. In a world where respect and tradition is king, he's bold, brash, and everything the sumo world hates. He comes in and, for lack of a better phrase, stirs shit up. Let's talk about what's good about the show. In terms of the sport, it's really accurate. From the types of training they do, the sumo-specific terminologies they use, even the bullying and abuse that the junior sumo wrestlers receive is kinda... ooh. Yeesh, okay, yeah, you can stop now, this is getting uncomfortable. This is the true Netflix budget in action, with proper subject matter experts advising on a show and building the world setting right. It's easy for niche topics to get diluted and distorted when marketing to a mainstream audience, but it did a good job in showing rather than telling how sumo works, what's it all about, its rules, its traditions and rituals to the average layperson watching the show. The types of training they do in the show is more or less 100% accurate to real life. When our main character, old Josuke looking guy here, first gets into sumo, he doesn't really understand a lot of these weird exercises they do. One of them is shiko, this thing where you kinda raise and stamp your feet in a controlled, deliberate manner. Another exercise is suriashi, where you kinda slide around the arena while maintaining a low center of gravity. These exercises are supposed to greatly increase the strength and balance of the rikishi who practice it. But to anyone unfamiliar with sumo like our main character, or unfamiliar to exercise like the average anime viewer, all they see are some goofy dances that just look like an enormous waste of time. Regardless, it is a vital part of real-life sumo training. Sumo wrestlers spend hours practicing these exercises, doing hundreds and hundreds of repetitions a day, and swear by it being one of the best hip and leg strengthening exercises out there. It may look dumb to some, but if everyone from the top rikishi in the sport, to even some doctors and physical therapists recommending it, hey, I'm not in a position to judge. Another thing they get right are the living conditions of the rikishi. All the rikishi live together in the sumo stable that they're under. The stables is where they eat together, sleep together, train together, and if and only if they ever get married, they can move out into their own homes with their families. If not, this bare bones way of living is essentially a rikishi's life for the rest of their sumo career. No privacy, just you and your homies in the same room for the next 20 years. But honestly, that doesn't sound too bad. I mean, have you seen how much housing costs these days? Like, Jesus Christ. What's not so good is the writing. The main character is just not likable. Come on dude, let's be real here. You're desperate for money, you need to make your career work. But you just insist on being such an ass to everyone for no reason. Even to those that are legitimately trying to help you. I know you're supposed to play this delinquent character that flies against the face of extreme tradition in sumo, but still, it takes like 7 out of the 8 total episodes for him to get serious about his career. Mate, your dad's been in the hospital the entire time. You had this grandiose goal of buying back your family's sushi shop since like before the show even started. How are you now, only at episode 7, starting to give a shit? Like, come on dude, you're just being obtuse for the sake of being obtuse. And the worst part is, there's barely any reason provided on why. If the show spent more time on reasons why he's being such an edgelord, and providing some complexity to his character, maybe he could actually be likable. The main plot teases a really epic final fight that we've been waiting for like half the show, but it just ends on a cliffhanger that tries to set up a season 2. Hoping Netflix greenlights a season 2 of a show is not a good business strategy. That's why if you work with Netflix, you do it how Trigger did it with Cyberpunk Edgerunners, and write a complete story that wraps up everything beautifully in 3 hours. One story, done well, good to go. Not just end the show at the climax of the final fight. Then, we have the subplots. Oh boy, the subplots. I mean, they're cool and all, and side stories are vital in beefing up and fleshing out the world you want to build. But here, there are so many subplots going around that just don't go anywhere. There's the murder subplot that links to the scandal subplot that links to the match-fixing subplot that links to the cheating subplot that links to the religious cult subplot, and none of them matter. The writers had too many threads and none of them got knitted into something enjoyable or even important in the whole grand scheme of things. Liking Sumo and watching this show is pretty much like enjoying Berserk and forcing yourself to watch the 2016 anime. It's media of something you like, but it's just not the best. Sure, the fights are good. Sure, the training pays homage to the real workouts that real-life sumo wrestlers do. But everything else is just kinda unremarkable. Okay, sorry Berserk fans, there's no way anything is worse than whatever the hell this is. Come on Netflix, you can do better than this. In Baki, the manga where Obama swears allegiance to a man with more destructive power than nuclear weapons, that fights another guy that wrestled dinosaurs. In a manga that's as batshit insane as that, they made two guys just grabbing each other look cool. They made Rikishi look like the pinnacle of humanity. Sumo as the purest form of strength and art out there. That interest in sumo that Baki gave me made me stop watching anime to see huge half-naked sweaty men wrestle each other for 6 hours. It's definitely possible to make sumo look cool, and this show has done it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the show is interesting while they do it. And I guess that's just a big shame. Now, if you excuse me, I'll go try to find another show that embodies the epitome of manliness. A show where the characters seek true power, true strength. A show where enemies fall like wheat to a scythe. A show... this'll do, I guess.